Nobody is coming. Nobody is going to save you. And here's the terrifying part, you already knew that. I know why you're here. Not out of curiosity, out of recognition. You clicked because something inside you said, this is about me. You have a vision that consumes you from the inside. A goal that keeps you awake at night. Not from anxiety, but from impatience. And when you tried to share that with the people around you, what happened? Silence. Sideways glances. Are you sure about this? Isn't that too risky? Or worse, that polite smile that says, I don't believe in you, but I'm not going to say it to your face. You've asked for support and received excuses. You've explained your vision and received doubt. You've tried to bring people along on your path and they chose their own comfort over your growth. And you know what hurts the most? It wasn't enemies who did this. It was family. It was a childhood friend. It was the person who was supposed to be the first one to believe. So you were left with the question you can't silence. Maybe I'm the one who's wrong? You're not wrong, but you were sold a lie. A lie so deep, so repeated, it passes for truth. And as long as you believe it, you will keep waiting for support that is never going to arrive. What was the lie? This one, that you need support to get there. They taught you this from the beginning. School, group projects, religion, congregation, career, networking. You were conditioned to believe that progress is collective. That without a network, you go nowhere. It's poison. Sophisticated, well-packaged, but poison. Because when you seek support, you are not seeking help. You are creating debt. You are handing pieces of your autonomy to people who act in their own interest, not yours. Machiavelli saw this 500 years ago. In The Prince, he wrote that the wise ruler builds only on what is within his own control, never on what depends on others. He wasn't only talking about politics. He was talking about human survival. The great builders of history were never supported while they were building. They were tolerated, then copied, then glorified, but never supported while the work was happening. The support always comes after. Always. In this video, you are going to move through the 6 phases of solitary sovereignty. The deconstruction, the radical reframe, the necessary grief, the instrumentalization of pain, the protocol of the prince, and phase 6, the hardest one, which I call the return. Each phase will demand something from you. By the end, you will not be the same person who pressed play. But I need to warn you, this is not motivation. Motivation is temporary and weak. This is surgery. We are going to cut out the parts of you that feel essential but are killing you. The part that needs validation. The part that waits for permission. The part that calls this loneliness when the correct word is freedom. If you want comfort, close the video now. No judgment. But if you are ready to stop waiting and start building, phase 1 starts now. Phase 1, the deconstruction. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise prince must rely only on what is within his own power, never on what depends upon others." Hold that. The most common and most expensive mistake you make is thinking the problem is bad luck, lack of opportunity, lack of connections. It isn't. The problem is that you outsourced your own ascent. You delegated the responsibility for your life to people who have their own lives to manage. Think about what happens when someone helps you. You owe them. When someone invests in you, they buy a piece of you. When someone supports you emotionally, they gain the power to withdraw that support and paralyze you. You were looking for a safety net. But a safety net is also a spider's web. Catches you, yes, but it also traps you. Here is the truth nobody says out loud. Every time you seek external support, you are admitting you are not enough on your own. And as long as you believe that, you never will be. The deconstruction is not about cutting people off. It is about identifying where you delegated power that should have been yours, where you waited for approval before acting, where you watered down your vision to make it palatable for people who don't have your capacity to see. Do this now. Think about the last major decision you delayed because you were waiting for someone to tell you it was a good idea. How much did that wait cost you? Weeks? Months? How much of your potential has been sitting in the waiting room of other people's opinions? The deconstruction begins the moment you stop asking and start deciding. If you have ever felt the weight of a vision that nobody around you can see, comment below, "I carry this alone." Phase 2. The radical reframe. Sun Tzu said, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. The solitary operator does not need an army. He is more dangerous without one." The mistake most people make is seeing isolation as a deficiency, as punishment, as proof that something is wrong with them, and that paralyzes them. They stay in a mode of mourning. Why does nobody believe in me? Why am I alone in this? While they do that, they waste the most valuable thing isolation offers: speed. A large corporation with 1,000 employees needs meetings to schedule meetings. It needs consensus. It needs sign-off from above. You can change the entire direction of your life in one afternoon. You don't have a board of directors. You have a mirror. Isolation is not a failure of destiny. It is a filter. It is eliminating the people who would have slowed you down. It is eliminating the false allies who would have stabbed you in the back the moment you showed signs of winning. You are alone because you are being protected from the weight of other people's mediocrity. The asymmetric advantage of the solitary operator is precisely this. He moves in the shadows, fast, without consensus, without obligation to anyone but his vision. An army of one man is harder to destroy than a full army marching in plain sight. Stop seeing the void as absence. Start seeing it as space. Space is where you build. Wait, stop everything for a second. Be honest right now, not with me, with yourself. Are you still treating your isolation as temporary? Still waiting for the right people to appear so you can finally start for real? If the answer is yes, you just identified the exact reason you haven't gotten there yet. Phase 3 is going to hurt, and it needs to. Phase 3, the necessary grief. Jung wrote that there is no transformation without suffering. Not as punishment, as process. The mistake the motivation gurus make is skipping this part. They tell you to hustle, to wake up at 5 in the morning, to be grateful. They don't tell you that before you can build, you have to bury. You need to hold a funeral. The funeral of the version of you that believed there would be a cheering section. That your people would understand. That your friends would grow with you. That your family would show up. That your partner would stay. They didn't stay. And it is not the cruelty of the universe. It is natural selection. You are accelerating in a direction they chose not to follow. The problem is not you. The problem is that you are trying to carry dead weight in a solo race. This grief is physical. It is real pressure in your chest. It is waking up at 3 in the morning staring at the ceiling, asking yourself if you are crazy. If maybe they are right and you are wrong. If it is even worth continuing. This is the valley of the shadow. Every outlier passes through it. It is the period between leaving the herd and reaching the destination. You are in the wilderness. You will hallucinate. You will crave the comfort of the cage you just escaped. But you cannot go back. You have seen too much. You know now that the support you were seeking was mutual sedation, comfort for both of you not to grow. Once you see that, you cannot unsee it. So you do what is necessary. You kill the boy who needed approval so the sovereign man can be born. This grief is not weakness. It is the rite of passage that 99% of people refuse to go through. That is exactly why 99% of people never arrive. If you have passed through the valley of the shadow, or you are in it right now, comment below. I know where I am. Phase 4, the instrumentalization of pain. Freud called it sublimation. Jung called it psychic alchemy. Machiavelli simply called it virtue, the capacity to impose your will on reality. Most people do one thing with the pain of isolation. They numb it. They drink. They scroll for hours. They watch show after show. They eat. They do anything to avoid feeling the weight of the silence. You are going to do the opposite. You are going to feel the pain completely, and you are going to direct it. You have already noticed how much work you get done when your heart is broken, or when you are furious. Pain is high-octane fuel. The problem is not having pain, it is wasting it. The outlier creates a conditioned reflex. Pain triggers production. I am alone? Work harder. They ignored me? Write better. I am broke? Sell more. Pain does not stop the engine. Pain is the fuel. Michael Jordan invented insults. He convinced himself that an opposing player had disrespected him, even when that was a lie. just to access the state of rage that made him unstoppable. He did not wait to feel motivated. He manufactured the flame when he needed it. Take every rejection, every unanswered message, every smirk, every doubt. Place them in a mental furnace and burn them. Anger is a cleaner fuel than sadness. Sadness makes you heavy, makes you want to lie down. Anger makes you light, makes you want to move. You are not alone in spite of being ambitious. You are alone because you see further than the people around you. Stop translating your vision into a language they don't speak. Build the tower so high they have to crane their necks to see it. Look, I need to be direct right now. If you have made it this far and you are still waiting to feel ready before you start, you are never going to start. Phase 4 is not theory. It is a decision. Either you use what hurts you, or what hurts you uses you. Simple as that. Phase 5 is where this becomes mechanical, and it is where most people quit. Phase 5, the protocol of the prince. Machiavelli studied the Romans, not the gossip of Florence, the greatness of Rome. He understood that to produce at an extraordinary level, you need extraordinary structure. Not a to-do list, a law. The mistake of the solitary operator, the only mistake that can destroy you after everything you have already overcome, is treating your freedom like a vacation. Without a boss, without a team, without a system, most people dissolve into entropy. They sleep late. They work for 20 minutes, stop for 2 hours. They call that freedom. It is slow suicide. You need to become a dictator to yourself. First, the morning negotiation. The moment your eyes open, there is a battle. The weak part wants comfort. The commander demands a start. If you lose that battle, you have signaled to your subconscious that you are not the one in charge. Win it every single day. Second, deep work blocks. Do not work all day. That is the performance of busyness. Work 4 hours with your phone off, the door locked, in a trance state. In those 4 hours, you produce more than a corporation produces in a week. Why? No meetings, no interruptions, pure lethality of focus. Third, information diet. Your mind is your only asset. If you fill it with garbage, news, drama, content that makes you feel small, you produce garbage. Read philosophy, read strategy, read the people who were great. Machiavelli did not study the mediocre to become Machiavelli. Fourth, the evening audit. At the end of the day, look in the mirror and ask, did I move the needle today or did I just make noise? You have no boss to review your performance. You are the boss, and a good boss is ruthless. This protocol is not optional. It is the structure that replaces the support you don't have. Which of the 4 are you going to implement tomorrow? Comment below with the number 1, 2, 3, or 4. Phase 6, the quietest one, the most powerful. If you applied everything, the deconstruction, the reframe, the grief, the instrumentalization, the protocol, something begins to happen. The numbers go up. The money hits the account. The posture changes. The confidence radiates off you like heat. And then they come back. The friends who were too busy to grab coffee. The family members who asked when you were going to get a real job. The ex-partners who left you for someone more stable. They come back with a smile. And they bring with them the word that will turn your stomach. I always knew we were going to make it. I'm so proud of us. We need to celebrate this. They will try to rewrite history, insert their name into your narrative. They want to stand next to the trophy they never helped lift. This is your final test. The old version of you, the one who begged for support, who was dying for validation, will want to open the door. Will want to say, see, they believe in me now. Do not do it. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. Out of clarity. You have learned that their love is conditional. Based on your utility, on your status, on your ascent. That is not betrayal, that is human nature. But you do not build a castle on shifting sand. Treat them with the same polite indifference they treated you with. You become a wall of glass. They can see you, but they cannot touch you. The castle has gates. The gates open only for those who helped carry the stones. Since you built it alone, the castle belongs entirely to you. This is not loneliness. This is sovereignty. And here is the paradox that only those who made it this far can understand. Now that you do not need anyone, you have something more powerful than support to offer. You have presence. You can spot the young, hungry, lonely person who is about to give up. And you can be the only voice that says, keep going. You become what you never had. That is what isolation builds when you stop running from it. So what did you just learn? Phase 1, you deconstructed the lie that you need others to rise. Phase 2, you reframed isolation not as punishment but as asymmetric advantage. Phase 3, you did the necessary grief, you buried the part that needed approval. Phase 4, you learned to turn pain into fuel. Phase 5, you built the protocol of the prince, the structure that replaces support that does not exist. And Phase 6, you arrived at the return and understood that sovereignty is not loneliness. 6 phases. 1 journey. Now the question that matters, what are you going to do with it? The world is getting softer, louder, more dependent on instant validation, on likes, on collective approval. That is your advantage. While they weaken in the herd, you sharpen in silence. While they wait for permission, you are already 3 steps ahead. While they form support groups to sedate each other, you are building something they cannot even imagine. If you made it here, and you did, you are not the majority. You are the outlier. You are the architect. You walked through the valley, did the grief, lit the furnace, and built the structure. That is not everyone. Not even close. Now you have a choice, and it is a simple one. You can go back to the warmth of the herd. It is safe there. It is comfortable. And it is exactly where your ambition will die slowly, in daily doses of consented mediocrity. Or you can close the gates and build, not to prove anything to anyone, for yourself, because you know now that you are the only one who needs to believe first. The old you, the one who waited, who begged, who diluted the vision to please them, that version died here. Now build. If you are going to take this into your real life, comment below, I close the gates, not for me, to mark this moment for yourself. If this video landed where it needed to land, leave a like, not out of politeness, but because content like this needs to find the people who are in the valley right now and need to hear it. And if you want to continue this descent into the psychology of power, strategy, and the dark side of human nature, subscribe and hit the bell. There is a lot more coming. Next video, what happens to a man's mind when he completely eliminates the need for approval? Not what the books say, what dark psychology reveals. See you there.